Okay. I call this meeting to order. This is a meeting of the Board of Education and Public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business, not to be considered a public community meeting. You all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Eddie, you led the mission and vision recently?
I have not. Our mission is to foster academic and social growth for each student in a safe, supportive school environment. Our vision is to be a learning community that inspires our students and staffs to think critically, grow intellectually, and live with integrity.
Thank you. Item 3, any additions to the agenda?
Dave, there's a couple of dates that need to be corrected. Just years need to be updated to 2023. And I would like to have item F under the superintendent's consent calendar separated out, please.
Okay, thank you. There's also a carry-on that's been distributed. You should have a copy of that.
Do we need to just
There's a carry-on that has been distributed to board members in addition to that as far as adjustments to the agenda. And the 5-year forecast is being split out from the treasurer's consent calendar to a separate item. And so we can make that item 8.2.
I think it was on the superintendent calendar, item F, not,
Well, no,
I'm sorry, item
not the
F.
treasurer one.
Item F from the superintendent.
Okay, item F. Okay, all right, so.
In addition, from the initial agenda that was sent out, item 13 was added.
At our last board meeting, I did want to note on there, it said under teacher appreciation that Eddie and I did that. It was actually under Tony and I don't know if that's the right time to do that now.
Thank you, yes.
On the minutes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can let me know that.
I noticed that as well.
Yeah.
And then for the minutes from the 15th, under public address, there's probably a question mark after the word project. But I can send you that note after this day.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? So yeah, I need a motion for that before we vote right there. Do we need to vote to approve these, or we just?
Yeah.
We do, yeah.
Actually, I think we're supposed to vote motion before we.
We're
We need a motion to vote.
So, motion to amend the agenda as
Yep.
stated.
Got a motion to amend the agenda as stated.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The agenda is amended. Okay. Now, for kind of motion for the approval of the minutes.
I'll move.
I'll second. And your corrections were on the minutes, correct, Jalecia?
Yes.
And mine was as well.
Okay. Anything else for the minutes? Okay. All in favor of approving the minutes as adjusted?
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Minutes are approved. Dr. Banks?
All right, so board and Dave, I would invite you to go into the audience. And then the reason we moved location to the PAC is we wanted to share at the board meeting tonight the final product of our restorative practice documentary, mini documentary, with all of you. And there's been a lot of questions about what that looks like and what that journey has been. And so we wanted to share that and shed some light on it. So with that,
But what's unique about Finneytown is that I just feel like we're family. We're all very, very close.
Yeah, as first year teacher, this has definitely exceeded my expectations.
And just like how to assess situations the right way.
We are ranked in the top 10 of diversity as far as student population here in the state of Ohio.
I would say Finneytown is a really unique place. It has always felt like we're a big family, but it even feels more like that now.
We decided to do this because in society, there's nothing healthy about escalation. And student escalation leads to suspensions. And suspension leads to kids not learning. And kids not learning leads to impatience, and impatience leads to violence. So let's change that.
I would say school culture has had a lot of challenges in the last 5 years, especially the last couple of years with COVID. I think a lot of our families are going through some job losses or grief experiences, and that's really affecting our kids and our families. I'm really seeing that if something happens in the family, it's certainly going to affect the child and how they are able to cope at school.
I would describe what's happened in Finneytown schools over the last 5 years as exciting. We are trying to push against the status quo, what traditional public schools look like. So we've really focused on bringing restorative practices, responsive classroom, project-based learning to our students.
I actually went kicking and screaming. I did not want to go to another training, and in hindsight, I look back and it's changed my life forever.
I would characterize what we've been doing here the last 5 years in the district as intentional, meaningful, and slow.
I think it's about making our community better, solving the problems and the issues that we have between students and teachers and everyone, and just making it a better place.
Several people brought their heads together, and I wasn't in the initial group of that, and said, we really want to shift our culture here. They saw it going wayward and said, we've got to start caring for one another more. So they came up with the house system, and then we got the buy-in of the entire staff.
I think with the house system that we've implemented, the house system gives us a chance to have students interact with one another who not necessarily would interact, from different grade levels. So with the house system itself, it gives also students a chance to talk with teachers they normally would not probably have.
I have students that I don't even have in class that I know in the hallway that I greet by name. I know what's going on in their lives.
This is something very positive that our school is doing, and I think it impacts the culture of our school as well. It's bringing these friend groups that we have here at Finneytown to become more together, and it's really expressing our diversity here.
The point of the house was to build relationships, so it goes hand in hand with restorative practices. And so house started, and then that team went and heard about restorative practices, and then we started implementing it. And it just is, it's seamless. It's perfect together.
And then the pep rallies and stuff for the house system, then we got these house games at the end of the year, and I feel like it brought everybody closer, so bringing that to Finneytown definitely changed it.
I know that the district sent a team of 5 administrators to the original restorative practices training. And something must have happened so powerful in that training that they said, we're dedicated to this.
We were able to gather as an entire district at the beginning of the school year about 3 years ago, and we got to learn about that together, which was very powerful.
3 simple elements. One is care for a room. So all these classrooms, they set up in traditional classroom. Well, we change that around. We take the desks And if there are chairs and tables, we'll move the tables out of the way and we'll circle the chairs up. And then the second thing, after we rearrange the architecture of the room, we focus on the present. So, you know, in that moment, we'll do different things to help people settle into their seats and be present. And then we'll have what's called conversations that matter. And these conversations are based on questions, and powerful questions that engage people in conversations.
Oh my goodness. Why would she say that?
Miss Yates, can I talk to you?
Oh, sure, Robbie. What's up? It's nice seeing you today.
2 of my friends are having conflict and I'm afraid it's going to escalate.
Oh, thanks for letting me know. Who are the 2 students?
Selena and Star.
Okay, I'll make sure I get with them and we'll pull them in for a conversation. Thanks, Rabia. Hey, Malik.
Hey, Ms. Yates.
I was wondering, I just had a student report that we have 2 girls that were having a conflict. Would you be willing to hold that conversation with them?
Yeah, that's cool.
Thanks.
Who are the 2?
It's Selena and Star.
Okay, yeah, I got you.
Okay, thanks, Malik.
Hey, what's going on, guys? First off, thank you for agreeing to meet. I know it's not that easy right now, but just for real quick, we're gonna talk one at a time, you know, just to make sure that we have things rolling smoothly. But real quick, we're gonna start with you. Tell me what happened.
Well, I heard from a friend that in a group chat, she called me a liar and a thief.
How'd that make you feel?
Made me mad, because you're my friend. Why would you even say that?
Why is it that you called her a liar and a thief?
Well, 2 months ago, while we were going to a basketball game, I let her borrow my shirt and I never got it back.
It was raining, I fell, and I tried to wash it, but it's stained.
Well, at least want my shirt back, even if it's stained.
All right, real quick. So you fell and it stained her shirt. You said it was raining. It was like a mud stain.
I don't really know. It's just like a brown stain, so probably.
It's like really hard to get out.
I tried washing it 3 times. It doesn't come off.
How's that make you feel?
Well, a little upset because I just want my shirt. It was a good shirt.
Even if it's stained?
Yeah.
Well, now I have to ruin the surprise, but your birthday's in 2 weeks. I was planning to buy you a new shirt.
What do you think we could do now to get this saluted?
I'm sorry for calling you a thief. I didn't know you were gonna buy me a new shirt.
I'm sorry for staining your shirt.
All right, that's a good way to conclude things, guys.
Restorative practice to me is simply being able to have a crucial conversation.
That student may not be ready to have a conversation yet. So, but the best thing that we can do is say, okay, you need to either go here, take a breath, can you go in the hallway, take a breath, and we can talk for a minute, or, you know, just, again, de-escalating that student.
My job as a restorative practice teacher is, you know, I'm hearing both sides of the story. I'm mediating the conversation rather than giving advice or telling them what to do.
Better Than Carrots and Sticks, I think it was called. And that was our first introduction even to this other option of restorative practices. And when we read about it and learned that it was about building community and relationships, and then about consequences over punishments.
We understand the techniques that are being used to help our kids actually learn different behaviors instead of just punishing kids, sending kids home from school, getting kids involved with the court system.
Seeing the priority of communication and community relationship-based education has made a big impact.
Even though after I learned about restorative practice, I was like, I kind of do that anyone. I think anyone who's an effective quality teacher or leader does restorative practice. They may just not know what they're doing.
Treating each other with empathy and grace when we do make mistakes, because we are human.
You have some that have embraced restorative practices, and then you have some that feel like it's a waste of their time. But those that have embraced it, you can see a change because they build better connections with students.
And in the time I've been here, we've had different resource officers. And you can tell a difference in who has the training and who had not had the training.
My instinct is obviously to de-escalate the situation and get the students separated and away from each other so that each one can de-escalate before we bring them back together to have the restorative conversation, because we don't want them to actually still be upset and trying to have a conversation when neither of them are ready to have.
We wanted our resource officer to go through the restorative practice onboarding that all new hires go through, and then we wanted her to be a part of our restorative practice room as well as with the administrators in ongoing conversation and learning about that. And it has shifted for us dramatically because we were ready not to continue that partnership.
Having the restorative practices, it gives them a chance to practice what they need in real life when they become adults.
The peer mediation process is new this year, and it actually started mid-year with an off-campus training for peer mediators. And then the folks, the teachers who are currently leading in the restorative practices room, the RP room that we have here on campus, those are the ones who are also supervising and mentoring the peer mediator.
I'm beginning to understand my teachers because of our training. It just taught us a lot.
I think peer mediation's awesome because their peers can see them mediating and doing restorative practice, which can help other students not feel like it's just adults doing it.
We recently had a case where a student was referred but took advantage of the diversionary court process, and through that process really learned a lot more about his behavior and how it affected other people. And that student actually ended up deciding to become a peer facilitator.
Restorative practices have changed the way we interact with each other as the adults because we recognize the value in building community with each other. So there's never a time that we sit down to meet that we don't check in first.
I feel that there's just a very strong camaraderie amongst all of us, and I feel that we each trust each other. So what I've seen is there's just such a great example at the top that we get to live and feed off of every single day.
Big part of restorative practices is the circle, the power of the circle. And so who's in the circle and who's there is who's supposed to be there. So it's I like to start all of my classes with these circles, and I'm involved in that. I am not the teacher on the outside listening to students. I'm involved in the circle.
I have seen many teachers using circles within their classrooms. What that does is it allows equity in the classroom. It allows everybody to be seen, everybody to be heard, and the respect to be complete in the classroom.
We don't really do circle time. We just, if I have a problem, I usually go to Ms. D.
I have had numerous circles where there may have been conflicts with students, and it could be student to student, student to teacher, student to admin, or even parent to parent. And we bring the parents in, and it's been such a positive experience.
We have circles whenever we feel like we need to convene as a learning community so that everyone can have their voice heard, and that's really powerful in addressing a situation.
One of my teachers, it was a problem that had happened in the classroom, so she had a circle because of the problem that had happened the day before.
You can go into classrooms and see circles either beginning the class, ending the class. A lot of classrooms have even set up their classroom to be in a circle. I'm a science classroom, so you don't normally see a circle with a science classroom, but for students to be able to see each other, see everyone in the whole class, not rows or desks, I thought was really important.
Okay. Well, after hearing everything, you're going to be suspended. And I'm going to call your father and let him know what happened, that you'll be suspended for a period of time. And then part of the suspension agreement is that when you return, you and Nolan will have a restorative conversation with me. And then assuming that goes well, if you're both willing, we'll then go to the classroom where the two of you fought, and we'll have a restorative circle with that class and the teacher. Okay? Okay. I'm gonna call your dad, let him know, and I need you to sign this while I'm calling. Hi, I'm calling. Unfortunately, we had a situation occur today where Dakota and another student got into a fight in class. Yeah, both students are okay. Dakota's fine, the other student's fine, but Dakota will be suspended. Dakota, Nolan, first I just want to say thank you for being here today. All right, I know you've been out for a few days, suspended, but it's important that we have this conversation, okay?
Okay.
And so here's how it's gonna go. I'm gonna ask all the questions. Be a few of them. We're gonna take turns, one at a time, and use me first language. Don't point fingers. And we're not here to figure out who's right and who's wrong or who the winner and loser was. We're here to figure out what happened from each other's perspectives and to decide together how we're gonna move forward to make things right between the two of you and with your classmates and teacher, okay? What about from your perspective, Nolan? What happened?
So from my perspective, I was working on my project, and then he came over and started messing with me. I was already having a bad day. It wasn't going well, just a downhill slope. And then I was getting tired of it, so I kind of escalated it by hitting his hand away, and it just went up from there.
Okay. And what was going through your mind?
Nothing really. I was just angry because I was already having a bad day. It wasn't going well.
So the two of you have been impacted, right? Right. Suspended. Have to do some makeup work. Who else has been impacted by what happened?
Probably our groups, because they were like sitting right there when it first started happening.
Right.
And then obviously like the class, because we started fighting, we interrupted everything they were doing. Nolan, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have started screwing around in the first place. We wouldn't be here if I hadn't done that, so I'm sorry.
I'm sorry for pushing it too far. Really shouldn't have done that.
Well, I appreciate that, guys. An altercation took place a few days ago between Nolan and Dakota, and they're here today rather courageously to sit in front of you and with you to talk about what happened and make things right moving forward. The next thing we're going to do is, since we're welcoming Nolan and Dakota back into the classroom, is we're going to share something that we find a strength of theirs to be.
I can go ahead and start.
Thank you, Mr. Chambers.
Yeah, so first, Dakota, I think one thing as the teacher I see is you always lead. You always step up and lead other students, whatever activity we're doing. And as a teacher, it's super helpful to have a student who's ready to jump in, take charge, help others, help me. And so your leadership is a huge strength. And Nolan, I think your willingness to try anything is a huge strength. Think of last year when you joined the wrestling team. You'd never done it before, but you were like, sure, let me just dive in. Let's just go for it.
If you do want to speak, I would ask that you share how seeing the two of them get into that altercation made you feel when it was happening, and then what you need from Nolan and Dakota to make things right moving forward.
I was confused because I felt like y'all were friends and I didn't really know what was like going on. I agree with Anthony, like it kind of set me back on my work. So yeah, I hope y'all can figure it out.
You guys started fighting suddenly, so I was a little lost and I couldn't ask the teacher for any help because I had a question, so I couldn't ask because you guys were fighting.
I hope I didn't hurt anybody, and I hope the actions that took place didn't impact you guys as much as it might have.
I just hope that we can kind of build your guys' trust in us again, because I know we kind of probably have damaged that a little bit. Yeah. So just a second chance is all I'm asking for.
Thanks, Dakota.
from a mom's perspective, I appreciate so much the fact that it's really trying to prepare our kids for future conflicts, for future opportunities to build community or deal with conflict. And so I feel good about it. I feel like we're really building the skills not only for our students, but in some ways also helping our parents see a different way to have meaningful conversations with their children. And so I think that's been very powerful.
Change happens from the heart. And so people have to truly believe in that which they're doing from a day-to-day basis.
We're embracing vulnerability, we're denouncing shaming, and we're trying to create a deep, honest, soulful belief that a student can achieve.
So we have the data, we have the reports, we have the first-hand accounts of students coming and being like, man, like these restorative practices work. I'm able to see how my actions not only affect me, but others.
Restorative practice for me changes the experience, and it makes the experience more human, no matter the situation. And I think in the end, restorative practices confronts people with their freedom.
When I talk to the community, I would tell them their financial investment in Finneytown Local Schools goes directly into our students through this training, through these resources that we're offering for our staff and our students together.
Jim was kind to take over the project along with Dan and kind of help us get it finished and be able to share it with all of you tonight. So thank you very much. All right, I have two other items I just wanted to share with all of you. One, every June we share our bullying incident report from this school year. This will be posted on our website. We had 2 incidents of alleged bullying and harassment reported through our public school works. That's the online reporting. And then we had 5 informal reports given directly to either by a parent, a guardian, or a staff member. I attached to that, as you remember from earlier in the year, we have done some work on redefining or refining how we investigate alleged bullying. I put that on here as well. We have shared that at a Pro Action Cafe, got some feedback, did some small tweaks to it. We think that it's in a pretty good place. We'll continue to see how it works and make adjustments as needed. And then the other piece I wanted to share with you guys is the work around the literacy leadership team. This past Tuesday, that team brought together a group of parents, staff members, board member, to go over the work they've done to identify instructional materials that align with the shift in the dyslexia law, as well as Governor DeWine's push in identifying science of reading. And so through that, they've identified some resources that we will be purchasing and using in the classrooms for K-3
going into next school year. In addition, we will be buying some of those resources to pilot for grades 4, 5, and 6. The details of those are outlined on what I've shared with you here. It is a combination of, hold on, what are the two programs? The 95 Phonics Core Program, and then the Wit and Wisdom are the two programs that we will be using in the classroom instructional materials going into next school year.
Are these ones that was used in the past? Or?
No, these would be different. These are new instructional resources. In the past, we have been using Journeys or we've also been using Orton Gillingham and some other programs. We haven't had the consistency we want or need. And so the work has been ongoing for this past school year. It started last summer. They've evaluated different resources, different professional development. And then, as you see, we also added the position of literacy coordinator this year, which is Jen Bayless. She will be working in conjunction with Meredith and Jen and that team in terms of implementing these resources in the classroom.
Right, and that's just part of Jen's overall role.
Bayless, yes.
Jen Bayless, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I was able to attend this. A few things I took away from it. Part of my background, I actually have a linguistics degree I got with a computer science degree. And a lot of what they've learned in the science of reading is a lot of it really has a basis in phonology and having the right phonemes and also recognition. It's kind of surprising to me. But you know, a lot of the issues actually can come down to if you have kids who has ear infections for a while or other areas. And they have found there's actually, you know, a lot of kids just naturally go through a learning sequence when they learn to read, but there is an order which needs to happen. And for the students that doesn't happen, just it's not just the way their brain works it out. This gives a very, there's one portion is 90 minutes a day, another portion is 30 minutes a day. It gives you something you can do every day. It gives a workbook that comes home that, you know, parents can work on with their students and know what's going on. But also, we had somebody in there, a parent who also does a lot as a substitute regularly. And having that laid out each day, what you're going to do towards this for a substitute teacher or for anything, any reason like that, is really powerful for these students. You know, she'd seen some of it used in classrooms. She hadn't been trained in it, but when she came in and went through the materials with students she had met, they all knew what was going on. They all fully engaged. So this is you know, these are some ways I was really impressed by this materials. Another thing is that part of it also is core components just in information, maybe things about, one of the examples I gave was like, you know, those of us who are a little older know about Jacques Cousteau and all that stuff, but just, you know, some of the things from there, just general knowledge things. And one of the things that may not be clear to everybody is part of our standardized tests in Ohio, they don't really just test math. They always include other information where if students haven't had experience or heard about different things, believe it or not, their math score might suffer because their family hasn't gone on trips places or, you know, doesn't, you know, and so this brings a lot of general information in. They tie it in with materials as you're learning to read, enriches just that whole experience. And, you know, for me, although not a goal of this, I do expect this to bring foundational information to our students that not intuitively, but will raise our test scores at the state, because the way those tests are designed, they're not really designed just to test those subjects. So to me, there's just so many good things. This was something which started as a teacher group, got this going, and from learning that those teachers were very dedicated and got everybody else involved, they wanted to move quickly, but they took a year and they actually looked at, was it 12 or 15 different curriculums? 13, yeah, 12, 15, 13, is some number in there, yeah. So they're taking it, and the administration helping the very motivated teachers to take the time to get something in place which met a lot more criteria is, again, making much more effective use of the school funds and that much more success from this program. So, you know, it's not just, hey, we found a book, good luck with that. But to me, I was so impressed with the work of this. I'm so regularly impressed with our staff. They're professional, they're all well educated. They dive in, and when they're doing it, they're thinking, how will I make these kids' lives better? It's not like, how am I a better professional? That happens. But their focus was our students, our kids. How's this gonna change their life now? How's it building a foundation for the rest of their lives too? So I couldn't have been more impressed. And I've done a lot of evaluations for $10, $100 million projects, so I know rubrics and how you design that criteria. Everything I would hope to find in a professional setting, the type of work I do, they had all that criteria, they evaluated all that. They did the same process as I've done lots of times in my career. So top to bottom, from process to content to caring to selection, I was thrilled with everything they've done. So I'm really looking forward to this being implemented next year, piloting the next 3 grades as well, and seeing where that takes us in the coming years.
Can I ask Lori, as far as looking to see how this is working, because I guess the expectation is that this will improve reading scores. Probably take a few years to be able to see the effects of this, or do you think we'll see it as soon as next year perhaps? I mean, the teachers will probably see it immediately, but how soon till we see it on paper?
So I think anytime you adopt something, we always say 3 to 5 years. However, with the dyslexia law, there'll be regular screenings that are required, so we'll be able to see if our students are developing that skill. We have that in place now. And then if our students are not showing the gains we want, then we make adjustments to the instruction and or do interventions. So we'll be able to kind of see it as we implement. I think in terms of the overall impact on our system, it'll take a little bit longer, but.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, but even the diagnostic criteria for an intervention is really laid out. I mean, I always say it takes a professional skill that know how to use it, but it's just so much more clear. It's not just, well, they're not getting it, what 15 things we try. It dives into what are the core components, what's the progression needed from the science of reading, which has been developed, I don't know, what, 15, 20 years over thousands and thousands of research projects. So this is not something which somebody thought of last week and we're jumping on the latest fad. This is really well founded, and so great education for me that afternoon. So. Okay, anything else, Dr. Vang?
I think the last thing I will say, we had 103 seniors graduate. All 103 who were eligible to graduate did graduate, and that was a celebration. The next 2 years we're going to have to modify because of the secondary campus project. We'll have to find an alternative location for graduation for sure. So we're working on that now, but overall it was a great celebration and experience. So just kudos to the secondary campus administrative team and Mr. Anderson, Mr. Muchmore, who, and definitely Dr. Dinan hosting the red carpet. It was a great event for all those. So, in attendance. That's all I got.
Okay, we have one person who submitted the form, but I filled it out for you. You got the information here already. So Matt Wilbur, I'll read you just the general guidelines here, and then you can go ahead and address the board. Okay? Thank you. So I just need to read something here first, and then you can start. Okay, thanks. The board believes it is in its best interest and the best interest of the students of the district to hear comments from members of the public. It has been therefore a long-standing practice of the board to encourage and allow residents to speak at the public meeting. This may be done by completing the bottom portion of this form and giving it to the board president prior to the board meeting. The following guidelines ensure that anyone interested in addressing the board may do so. The board conducts the business of the school district in an effective and efficient manner. Number one, attendees must register their intent to participate in the public participation portion of the meeting upon their arrival at the meeting by completing this form and returning to the board president or presiding officer. Each speaker is limited to 5 minutes. For the public record, each speaker addressing the board must state their name, address, and group affiliation if appropriate. Any material or handouts must be presented to the treasurer for the record. The naming of individuals, profanity, abusive language, and speeches that invade individual privacies will not be tolerated or permitted. The board will take no action regarding matters or issues presented through public address in a meeting in which the public address was made. All necessary follow-ups will be made verbally or in writing at a later date. Okay, Mr. Wilbur?
Yeah, I'm Matt Wilbur. In 2010, my wife and I retired, moved down south to Cincinnati. We don't have a 150-year history of this place. I did grow up in Wyoming, so I'm not too far away from here. It didn't take us too long to figure out that demographics have changed since 1971 when I graduated. I really didn't know what had happened here. I mean, I assume it's like sociology would say it's white flight, where a lot of people who could moved out to the richer, wealthier, whiter communities. And the properties that were left, a lot of them were purchased by a new form of middle class people that multicultural and had community and wanted to push out the American dream. Kind of a similar situation now as I see it. Now, I've been taken aback by the terrible language that I thought we got over when we in the 50s or 60s and 70s we dealt with racial equalities and the language that's used then. Language like, I guess it's just become accustomed to it. It drives me crazy. My family's lived here for 150 years, and we've always supported all the levies, and we love being here, but if you guys change it, we don't want any property, we don't want them in our neighborhood, and it's going to lower the property values and so forth. To me, that's just, I don't know, it's the same way it comes in. It's the same old things that back then was in terms of racial lines and red lines. Now it's over financial lines. And I guess the people that are born in generational poverty don't have an opportunity to get in a new location like that, which I think they deserve the same right that anybody else deserves, and they get to move up to the top instead of being half down at the bottom. First of all, I'm supporting the school here only as I've been an educator for 35 years, and I don't know how you guys do it here, to be honest with you. The population you have, it's so multicultural, and things like that, and those kind of programs. By the way, we were doing that 25 years ago. We didn't call it that, we just called it peer mediation. So it's all about how much you guys buy into it, and from what I've seen, I really want to recommend, or say how much I appreciate the mental health aspect of this school, what they deal with. I thought a trauma for me when I was a kid was not having ice cream in my refrigerator, in my freezer. These kids have gone through trauma that nobody deserves to go through. Some of these kids have seen things and done things and been involved in things that none of us should have to go through. And I tell you, in some cases, it's a matter of life and death with these kids. Now, I wanted to be involved with the school and add anything I could. I wanted to, I try to make entrance in terms of my academic, help academically or athletically. That's what I was involved with, and it took a long time it took about 2 years before Adam Coffey would take me on the wrestling staff with no skills. I didn't know anything about wrestling. I knew a lot about how to teach athletes, and I tell you, you've got a lot of men there that the reason they're successful. I don't think people understand that you guys aren't successful in a lot of these things. I mean, football team's gone like 66 games without winning a league game. Baseball team's gone 100 games, league games without winning the game. They had 3 runs in the whole season. But where is our field of dreams? Where's our baseball or softball field around here? Kids can just go out and play in. Like, I don't know what kids do when they get done in school. Where do they go? To the parks? There are no parks around here. In fact, I don't even know where the Climbers of Finneytown really are. So I think that's the part that try to convince other people from different cultures to come into one thing and recognize their strengths and what they can do. They have no examples of success. It's almost embarrassing in some situations. They have no examples of success, what it takes to work hard. You guys care about these kids, and I know it does, and that part of it. You're doing a good job of building a culture here now, and they're not going to learn if they don't have that, but now they got to start to learn something. It's nice to be here and feel good and come to school and feel good about themselves and settle differences in different ways. peer mediation, it's great.
You have 15 seconds.
Okay, but you know, are you going to see the scores right? Because the test scores aren't very high, and I think that's something that the community is going to, going to want to see.
Okay, well that's your time. Thank you. Okay, board coordination. Jamie, would you like to start?
Yep, sure. Not a lot from, I didn't have a meeting with the township. One thing I would like to say, the graduation ceremony, I was really impressed with the amount of flavor and personality that our students were allowed to express. Like I saw lots of videos on the internet of graduations where kids were kind of get up, walk like robots across the stage, get their diploma and walk off. But I was really impressed with the amount of personality that our kids showed with their hats and just being very happy at the event. And I really appreciated the sense of community I think that they have as students. Hearing a lot of kids from a lot of different cultures speaking about their community and what they've experienced at the school really impressed me. I didn't get to see graduation last year because I had COVID, but I was glad to see it. It was a very happy day. I was glad to be a part of that.
You go ahead, sure.
I will start with FAA. I attended the June meeting. As always, they need volunteers, so if anyone is interested in helping out our community, our sports organizations really need volunteers, from the younger groups in the FAA all the way up to the boosters. Baseball's finishing up. I do want to call out a few really awesome wins going on. The B2 baseball team was second in the division. They're going to the World Series. That may have already happened. The A2 team was finishing up their season, and the baseball teams in general really need more volunteers for next year. So if anyone has a passion for baseball, please let me know. I'll get you in contact with the right people with the FAA. They're looking for some volunteers. They're hoping to have cheer starting up soon. Fall soccer signups are open. And a big shout out, this isn't just for FAA, this is in general for Finneytown. We have some wrestlers who are going on to national championships, so I do want to congratulate those students and kind of call them out because they're doing amazing things. So we have our 16U freestyle team with Mashana Tinsley, Rochelle Ross, and Catherine Murillo. Our 14U wrestler Alicia Ramirez. And then 16U, the Greco-Roman National Championships, which I think is this weekend, or was this past weekend, is James Paudel. So congratulations to those wrestlers. Good luck in your championships. I'm not able to go to the boosters meeting because that is happening this very moment, actually. But they are prepping for their big fundraiser, which is the Greek Festival parking. If anyone is interested in helping, please let me know. I'll get you in contact with them as well. We met with the township to discuss some of the options about the Whitaker property. I thought it was a really great conversation. It was very well aligned. I can say I know the team here is putting together the questions that were asked, and they're putting together the answers for everyone, so that will be coming out soon as well. I talked to Grant about it recently, actually, and I'm very impressed with the amount of listening I've seen on all parties, the township and the school. I know I've done a lot of listening. Opinions have been heard, and I want to make sure that that is made clear, that I hope everyone else will see that as well once we get further along in the process. But yeah, I'm just very proud of all the listening and how much I've seen heard. OSBA has some things coming up that are available. There is a proposal deadline for funding to support an expansion of specified suicide prevention programs. The deadline is July 10th, but there is a chance for extra funding for suicide prevention programs. So Lori, if you want, I can get you some more information on that. The 2023 Annual School Safety Summit is going on July 25th through 26th. That's in Columbus. There is 2 training seminars coming up. I think they're in person. They didn't list a location, but there is a cost to them, which usually means that they're in person. The Budget Analysis and Discussion Seminar is August 1st, and then there's a Reasonable Suspicion training on August 2nd. Finally, Beyond Differences has a survey out. There should have been a link that went out in a few different forms. There was a text message that also went out. Please fill this out. It's gonna guide the committee's work going forward. They're gonna assess where we need to work, what opportunities we have, where we should celebrate things too as well. It is an extensive survey, but it is very much going to make a difference in how we approach things going forward. I would also like to ask, can we send that out again a few times just to over communicate it? Because I know there's a good chance that with it going out at the end of the school year, all the hustle and bustle, it probably got forgotten.
You can do that.
Thank you.
Okay, went to the Finnetown Schools Education Foundation meeting. A lot of discussion was around the employee they plan to hire to help manage the Alumni Association, still trying to figure out what that would look like. You know, pursuing whether they actually hire somebody, employ them directly, or whether they use consulting services, just big decisions to make there. Also, meeting with the township around the property, it's a very strong partnership. It's really a lot of people speaking clearly about their concerns, what's going on. I know that for myself, you know, really went in open to a bunch of ideas, different things, and just as I've heard more and more reasoning behind different things, I just, you know, just learning, still in the process of understanding what the options are, what the township, what their interests are, and what they'll support. Yeah, on graduation, you know, I really thought it was nice that there was, you know, the ability for various students to submit speeches and be able to give a speech. You know, in addition, I thought the three, you know, speakers we usually have, the valedictorian, salutatorian, and the top Oak student, I thought those were all great as well. But the other two students really came up, and I think they're people you could tell they really worked hard on their speeches, and I can definitely see why they were selected. So yeah, I really liked the graduation. I thought it was, you know, things my kids experienced here, and as well as differences when they got to college, people describing their high school experiences versus what my kids experienced. You know, and even just in life outside of college, it really made a difference, and I was glad to hear that it's at least as strong, if not stronger, you know, culture here than when my kids were here. And that's all I have.
All right, I did not attend this month's FMPA meeting, but I did take some time to look at the minutes from the meeting. And for those that are interested, the marching band directors are working on turning the old marching band uniforms into pillows and tote bags. So if you or one of your children was a student with those marching band uniforms, which was sometime in the last 10 years, then you might want to keep an eye out for that. So there'll be some sort of an announcement going out with that once they have that finalized, but I certainly will be getting one to put on my couch. The golf outing, I know Jalecia got to attend that, so I'll let Jalecia share about that if you would like to when it's your time to do that. There will be an FMPA car wash fundraiser in August, and the marching band preview show is on August 10th. In regards to long-range facilities planning, or just facilities in general, I wanted to give a shout out to our, I guess Grant's title is facilities director, or Grant, what's your job title?
Director of Business Operations.
Okay, so thanks. The Cottonwood property looks great. I drove by it. There's no more abandoned vehicles, so that I think is definitely help visually when you're driving by through the neighborhood. It'll be even better if we get our streets repaved back there, which would be great. I did want to ask, this would be a question for Lori that you could probably answer. Where are we at with demolition bids for Whitaker? I don't think we've voted on anything as a board at this point, and we definitely haven't decided for sure about the Brent building. But I just wanted to get kind of an update of where we're at in that process.
We have an organizational meeting tomorrow for the secondary campus project. I'm not sure if that'll be part of the conversation or not. Right now, we don't have a timeline. As far as I'm aware, Grant, we're still just kind of waiting. Organizational meeting tomorrow. No update on demolition?
No, I think we're looking at likely September would be the earliest, but that's still being determined.
Yeah, we're trying to figure out Whitaker because Arts Connect's still, or Brent, because Arts Connect's still in there. Plus with the building being in use, trying to figure out the timeline with that for that being right next to FE, so.
Great.
But
Yeah,
right
and-
now, we don't have a date set.
So can we do demolition of, we haven't even discussed for sure that Brett will be going, by the way, but if it was to be demolished, could that be done during the school year, you're saying? I guess it could?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
but it might cause more of a disruption.
Yes.
But it needs to be done at the same time as Whitaker as far as cost-wise, because it's co-funded, is that
It just
correct?
has to be done within the scope of the project.
Okay.
During that timeline, not necessarily at the
Okay.
same time as Whitaker.
That's helpful to know.
Yeah.
The reason I was asking, because I've had people in the community ask, hey, what's going on with Whitaker? So if I can at least tell them, hey, sometime after
And to be
August,
clear,
so-
right now, the intent is to bring the recommendation to demolition Brent to the board, so just
That was my
for
understanding.
clarity, okay.
And we already approved Whitaker demolition, didn't we?
We'll
Or do we
still
need to
bring
vote
it
on
again
as well?
once we have a contract.
Okay.
There'll be another board action to take on that, is my understanding.
Great, thank you. I have one other thing. The Springfield Township's comprehensive plan update, their community kickoff event is from 6 to 8 p.m. tomorrow, the 21st, at Winton Woods. The exact address is 10245 Winton Road at the Winton Center Auditorium. I think that is on the west side of Winton Road there, behind the little pond, but I am not positive. But Springfield Township, this is in their words, has begun to update its comprehensive neighborhood master plan, and we need your input, in the words of the township. The comprehensive master plan helps guide the development of the community over the next 20 to 25 years, and the plan will help shape many future aspects of the neighborhoods and business districts. Most importantly, the master plan reflects a vision for the township set for community members like you, or us. I am not sure if I'm actually going to be able to make it myself, but I know my parents will be there, and they'll be giving me an update. But I would recommend that everyone go if you are able, because that is something that they only really do every, I think it's every 3 to 5 years. We might play a part in that with our discussions about the Whitaker property that are going on privately. So we'll see what there is to say about that. So that is all I have.
I will be brief because I just got back from Florida at 6 o'clock today, so I don't have a whole lot of notes, but shout out to all of our music staff on the concerts. Music, as far as our choirs, our band and orchestra, the concerts were phenomenal. I know you guys put a lot of work into that. My son happened to be in Voices, and he truly enjoyed it with Miss Fields, so thank you guys for all your hard work and all that you do for our students. I was able to attend the FMPA golf outing. It was a blast. I think it's safe to say that I'm not a professional golfer. I did absolutely terrible, but it was a great time. Thank you to Mr. Delaney and Mr. Frank and all of those parents for all the work that you put in. It was an exceptional event, so I was pretty wore out. We did 18 holes, so it's my first time golfing. It was a lot of fun. Also wanted to shout out to the PBL Showcase facilitators, Mike Kennedy, Mike Rosa, all of the staff who were present for that. It was a phenomenal, phenomenal turnout. It was very professional. It was amazing to see the students come out and showcase their talents or what they believe in. It was exceptional. So kudos to you guys on an amazing event. It was definitely wonderful. Also, just a heads up for you guys, I know we talked about it, the board self-assessment will be July 27th at 5:30. If you could pencil that into your calendar, and I look forward to working with you all on some of our goals and ways that we can improve as a board. And that's all I have.
Okay. On to financial matters. Can I have a motion for 8.1, adoption of the consent calendar?
I'll move.
Second.
Ms. Oliveri, will you take the motion?
Yeah, I'll just mention one thing is, before I start my report, is that the Records Commission did meet, and those minutes have been passed out to the board. Item A, monthly financial report. So in our general fund, total revenue, the general fund for the month of May was $1,311,241. Our fiscal year-to-date revenue, $19,795,278. Expenditures in the month of May, $1,644,457. Fiscal year-to-date, $17,333,994. $679,262. Cash balance at the end of May in the general fund, $15,260,248. Item B, depository investment balances as of May 31st, 2023. U.S. bank account, $318,592. Our U.S. Bank construction fund, $3,693,055. Star Ohio account, $21,208,150. Star Ohio construction number 2 account, $3,113,008. Star Ohio construction account number 1, $1,203,784. Item C, interest earned on depository investment accounts for May 2023. In our general fund, we had interest earnings of $95,565. In our construction fund, $28,582. Item D is a monthly bond project spending and commitment report. And quickly referring to that document, not a lot of change since last month. We've expended $23,646,000 approximately, and we have a cash balance that's remaining at this point of $8,015,034. Didn't receive a lot of invoices to pay last month, so not much change. Did earn some interest income. Item E is a recommendation to approve a purchase as listed to Edmentum, amount of $8,250. Item F is a recommendation to approve the 5-year forecast. The 5-year forecast is in the reporting section. What I can tell you about this report is that it has been reviewed by the Finance Committee. The ending cash balances remain positive throughout the 5-year horizon. This is something that we've identified previously, but we are seeing some accelerating operating deficits in years 3, 4, and 5. That hasn't changed. Again, the revenue is flat going out. We really don't have a lot of growth right at this point in time identified. One of the reasons for that is that we are on the guarantee for our state foundation funding, and we would have to have a large number of student enrollment to change that, and so that number's pretty flat. And of course, property taxes typically don't grow unless you pass a levy, and we don't need a levy, and so there won't be a lot of change there either.
Can I ask Dave, the number of students, I think you said it was something like 100 students that we'd have to increase in order to...
I think more than that.
More than that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Some good news with enrollment, though. Our kindergarten enrollment is up so far this year, and so we're hoping to hit 100 students this year and on target to perhaps do that. So more on that to come. As far as looking forward, one of the things we're very concerned about is school choice. We don't know how that legislation is going to come out, but it is something that would hurt our district along with many other public school districts, and so we are interested in what happens there. Are there any questions about anything on the report?
So this wouldn't take into consideration, this is everything up to this point, so this is, you're not necessarily looking at what may happen with properties that the school owns or actions that the board may take. These are things that you know pretty for sure that are going to happen. As far as revenues not increasing or decreasing, you don't take into consideration that maybe there'll be a large housing development. Like you kind of stay in the realm of what's reasonable.
Yeah, precisely correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Assuming things stay pretty much the same and our enrollment increases by less than that number that you said, then we stay pretty much flat, so that's why you're predicting. But things could change if we do increase enrollment significantly or we have some sort of other revenue source. Yes.
Correct? Okay.
That would be true, yes. One thing I will mention is for the current year, I am predicting a pretty significant operating surplus. And the next item on the agenda, item F, just segue into that. Is a oh, that is F. Let's make it G. Thank you very much. So this is a recommendation to approve a transfer from the general fund into the capital projects fund, which could be used for master plan items, particularly on the secondary campus, for which we do not currently have any funding. So the OFCC project will cover all the classroom space, and so that's well in hand, and we have plenty of money to cover our share. But there's renovation to this building, renovation to the competition gym, ball fields that we'd like to see, perhaps being able to save the multi-purpose space going forward. Those things are not funded, and so I have identified some money out of our general fund that I would like to recommend that we consider transferring there. This recommendation is an amount, the NTE means not to exceed 1.5 million, and I don't really think we'll have that much money there. But I will let you know exactly where we do finish up and make sure that I talk to the board before we finalize what that number can be. But that is on here, and I think it's a good use of those funds, and that will come in handy in keeping step with what's going on with our state project.
So this was the account we voted to set up.
Yes, and we did set it up last month, and it's a fund that if we put the money in there and found we weren't able to use this, we would have the opportunity to bring it back into our general fund.
So it's not as restricted as other ones.
Correct.
Okay.
That second line's supposed to be a positive number, not a negative.
That's right. Yes, thank you very much.
Oh, yeah, thanks for pointing that out.
Okay, then item H is a recommendation to approve advances back to our general fund. These ESSER grants were a little difficult to operate this year. In particular, the $74,000 ARP ESSER, that fund was, we filed our final expenditure report for last year, but that fund carried over, and we weren't able to do anything with it for about a month while the state approved it. And so that'll probably happen again next year, where it's just not a real efficient process, and it only happens on these ESSER funds because of the way they were set up as 2-year grants. But anyway, it returns the money back to general fund where it came from. Then item I and J, these are both recommendations to adjust our certificate of estimated resources and our permanent appropriations through events that happen through the end of the year, and then these are submitted to the Hamilton County Auditor, and I will report back on where those figures came out to you next month. Item K is a recommendation to make year-end adjustments to our budgets. Typical, done, a recommendation made every year at this time. L is a recommendation to approve temporary appropriations for next year. Again, we do this routinely at this time each year. We're setting a budget equal to 1/4 the amount that we've expended this year for next year, and then the permanent appropriations will come in September, and that will be brought to you for approval. A lot there. Are there any questions about any of those items?
Okay. No questions. I have a roll call vote, please.
Ms. McMullen?
Yes.
Mr. Ray?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. Gast?
Yes.
Ms. Lee?
Yes.
Item passes. Can I have a motion for 8.2, resolution requesting the county auditor to make advance payments of taxes pursuant to Ohio Revised Code 321.34.
So moved.
I'll second.
Take us through this, Mr. Oliverio.
Yes, this is once again, a recognition I make every year at this time. The purpose of this is to speed up cash flow. Were we not to ask for advances, they would wait 2.5 months until they have until they finalize the amount of money that Finneytown should receive. And so, of course, with interest rates where they are, we want to receive this money quickly and earn some interest on it. And so I recommend that we take this action.
Money sooner, I think that's, no questions on that for me.
Pretty easy one.
Yeah, roll call vote, please, Mr. Alvario.
Mr. Ray?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. Gast?
Yes.
Ms. Lee?
Yes.
Ms. McMullen?
Yes.
Motion passes. Okay, 9.1, superintendent's recommendations. Can I have a motion for adoption of the consent calendar?
I will move.
I'll second.
Okay, Dr. Banks, take us through this, please.
All right, this month focuses a lot on the transition that we see this time of year. If we look at item D, that shows all of our new hires that will be onboarding this fall. Item E is a reflection of some reassignments we have of existing staff to new positions and opportunities. Item G is some summer work that we have 2 individuals doing for us. Item J is a overnight trip for the band. We're going ahead and just getting that out of the way. That's not till November, but that's for them to go back to the Bands of America. Item K is acknowledgement of a donation, a cash donation of $175 to the Finneytown High School Poetry Club from the Finneytown Secondary PTA on May 11th. And then there's a cash donation of $350 to the Finneytown Elementary Physical Education Department from Cincinnati Reds Community Fund, Great American Ballpark, on May 19th, 2023. And then item L is the resolution. We do this each year. This time it is a resolution that for not to provide career and technical educations in grades 7 and 8. And so currently our career and technical education is a partnership with the Oaks, and that serves our students 9th through 12th grade. And so we just submit this to the state every year. And then we also have the Oaks programs where some of our students go for programming their 11th and 12th grade year. So
it's just simply not an option is what it is.
Right now, yes.
Yes. Okay,
Yes.
gotcha.
And so we approve this, then I upload it with the board approval to the state, and we do that annually. It's something that's required.
Can you clarify for H the dates? Are we approving these contracts for next year or for this current year?
This past year.
Okay, thank you.
I see why you said that.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Mr. Alvario, may I have a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. Gast?
Yes.
Ms. Lee?
Yes.
Ms. McMullen?
Yes.
Mr. Ray?
Yes.
Motion passes. May I have a motion for item 10, approval of memorandum of understanding?
Should we do 9.2?
Oh, we're gonna do 9.2, is that how we broke out?
I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry.
How did we break
Do I
out
have
F?
that right or do I have that wrong? Yes, 9.2,
Did you wanna make that 9.2?
which was the item F.
Okay, great. Can I have a motion for 9.2, approving the settlement and release agreement for Darla Fideldy?
I'll move.
I'll second.
Quick discussion, I think we should be continuing down the legal path. On this one, I don't think we should be settling yet.
Any other comments?
I'm not sure what we really can share, so
Yep.
I'm gonna leave it at that.
Right. So roll call vote for this, Mr. Alvario?
Yes.
May I have that, please?
Mr. Gast,
Yes.
Ms. Lee,
No.
Ms. McMullen,
Yes.
Mr. Ray,
No.
Mr. Reed.
Yes.
Motion passes. Now on to 10, number 10, approval of memorandum of understanding for healthcare connection. Got a motion, please?
I'll move.
I'll second.
Okay, Dr. Banks.
So if you recall, last year we came and talked about how we wanted to do a partnership. What we've recognized is we just don't really have a space to set up a clinic in-house. So we've met with them at Healthcare Connect again. We've identified a few areas where we can partner with them right now in the space we have available. One is the option of telehealth, which is kind of a remote option that would happen within our clinics, but within a private space. We are gonna try to pilot that at the secondary campus next school year. In addition, we are looking at partnering with them for immunization clinics and physicals for our athletes. And then we're just gonna see where that builds from there, but this is a partnership with them, which is what is presented before you.
So just be virtually, and if they need immunizations, they just come on site.
We probably set up like clinics, I don't know, once or twice a year, and anybody who needed them, we'd have a space and we'd advertise it, and it'd be open to the community, so.
Okay, so some of these things are just possibilities, like
Yes.
Section 5, the on-site, those are not to be done soon.
Correct.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
It seemed like the needs were pretty minimal though, right? Basically power and a sink.
Yes, they were minimal, and they can set up like a modular site if the need was there. Right now, we don't see
Right.
that need. We identified things that would be helpful, and we're gonna start there and see how it
Okay.
goes, so.
And they needed a permanent space. They couldn't just come in for a period, I guess. Even if they need it for a day, that's the space we don't have, right?
Right.
Gotcha.
So,
Is that a possibility for the new secondary campus that we could?
it would have to be
consider something?
funded by us. It would not be part of the co-funded option, so, right now, that's not part of that scope, so, yeah.
I know we've talked about this several times, and I think it's really great for the community. I think it's great for our students, and I really hope it goes well and we can continue to expand on it.
Could we work with the architect, just, I know we have a really long list of things to raise funds for already. If somehow we got past the end of that, could we get maybe just an estimate from the architect of what it would take to have a space for this as well? Just so if we've raised so much, gee, what we do with this excess of money which has fallen on us, this could be an opportunity.
There's a lot of this so long right now, Tony, I'm gonna be honest, I don't know that that's,
Yeah, I know. It'd be nice to know what it would take to have that kind of space. Like if there was a space we end up keeping that we could remodel for this, just be nice to know.
well, and they do endure the cost of a remodel. It's just the actual physical space and
Right.
having that and accessibility and things like that.
Right.
And honestly, right now, based on the conversations we have with our current nurses, there's not that need.
Okay.
So I think if
Gotcha.
the need arises, we can reevaluate, or as Lindsay said, as we start this partnership and see how responsive the community is to using it.
Right.
We can either end the relationship or expand it, or
Right.
continue it where it's at, so.
Gotcha. Yeah, this is a very, very thorough agreement.
It is. Dave and I, yes.
Well, you can tell they've done
It is.
this. They've done it with several other local schools.
Yes.
We'll be working with Princeton next, I understand. So yeah.
This is only open to students. Is it open to staff as well?
No, staff as well,
Okay, but not community members.
and community,
Okay.
yeah.
But there's no physical space that we're giving them for this.
I mean, in terms of the telehealth, it would be people within the school day community, but like in terms of vaccine clinics or things like
Oh, I
that,
see what
that
you're
could be open up, or physicals, that could be opened up beyond.
Where would they do the physicals in our current spaces?
We've done them before, we would work with Gerald, but probably either like somewhere on campus, and parents could bring them here.
Okay, yeah, I'd be excited to see what the community reception is. I think that there could be some misconceptions about this initially.
Yeah.
But I think that it seems like it's a really good partnership. So.
I know as a parent, I think it would be great to say, there's a clinic going on for physicals. Let me take all of my kids at one time and get it all done at one time on campus. It would be very convenient.
Does it only work with certain insurances, or is it?
They take up quite a few.
They take quite a few, yeah. And the physicals, typically, the way those clinics run, it's a pretty flat standard fee of like, I don't know, somewhere between 15 and 25, I would imagine, is what I've usually
Is that
heard,
what's
so.
been- you've seen recently?
Yeah, I think so.
So. Yeah. Don't quote me on that, though.
I mean, even in that price range.
Yeah, right.
The person who oversees their dental work practice is my neighbor, so. All kinds of great information we discussed while trimming bushes and whatever. Okay. Any other questions? Have a roll call vote, please.
Ms. Lee?
Yes.
Ms. McMullen?
Yes.
Mr. Ray?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. Gast?
Yes. Motion passes. I have a motion for number 11, approval of memorandum of understanding, paid parental leave.
So moved.
Second.
And this is for the Fannin Education Association. Just wanted to put that for the next one. Okay. All right.
So Tony, can I make one small statement, and I'll be quiet about it moving
Yep.
forward, I promise. But I do want to just say one more thing regarding paid parental leave. Me personally, I just want to go on the record. I believe that paid parental leave does not align with our mission of academic and social growth for students. I believe that paid parental leave will increase the time our talented, qualified staff will be out of the classroom in buildings working with our students. The increase in time that we have substitute staff will have a negative impact on our students' learning and growth. Also, I don't feel it's an appropriate use of public funds. And I will, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you.
It's the right thing to do. I've put a lot of time in this. The public funds, the number we were given by our treasurer, it will be less than 3/4 percentage point of our budget. So I think we have other places that we spend money that we could change to cover this. But I think from my perspective, hoping that this vote passes, I think this is an indication to our staff that as a board we care about them. And I truly believe that this will improve their lives.
Yeah, I've worked with Jamie on this. We met with legal counsel. This has already been voted on and passed by the unions, both unions. Well,
right,
it's
yeah.
11 and then also 12. So there are many aspects of what is in here that I had a hand in developing with Jamie. As far as a paid parental leave policy, this is this is fairly unique. I mean, we looked at what Hamilton County has. We looked at what Columbus City schools have. To our knowledge, there's only one other school district in the state that does this, and that's Columbus City Schools. If there's another district out there that someone knows of, then welcome to correct us. But I would invite community members that are interested in this to read it. It is very detailed. If you have questions, myself or Jamie would be happy to answer them to the best of our ability. We should be able to pretty much answer any questions that you might have about it. It covers all sorts of things, but included in here and is also foster care. There's even an allowance for adoption. So I think that this does show that Finneytown cares about their teachers and their time spent at home. I do think teachers don't get enough time at home generally with their students. With their children when they do have a childbirth. But I can't get over the financial cost and the number of weeks. So I've been losing sleep over this because I agree with this in principle. But the number of weeks is something that I've been caught up on from the beginning. So while I am happy with the way that it is written, the duration for me I just can't get over. So even though I won't be voting yes, I am still happy that this is going to be provided for our staff. It's just not something I'm going to be voting yes on due to that number of the weeks. But I do think that the way it's written, I'm proud of what's included. So.
I just want to thank both of you for putting in an extensive amount of work and research and calls and discussions, and you've been open to feedback from all of us. It's been a lot of work, and I think I've seen it. It was seen, and it's definitely appreciated.
Strawberry.
So we are voting on this tonight.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was-
There's
new-
two different votes because there's one for the certified and one for classified.
See, I was under the impression this was just on the agenda. For me, like I mentioned before, when I first heard about this, I'm like, wow, what an exceptional thing to offer our staff, you know, because as a mother, you know, I needed more time. My husband needed more time. But for me, I can't say yes because my superintendent and my treasurer, they have doubts and reservations, so that doesn't sit well with my stomach. And to know that we have staff members, administrators who are already overworked, already stressed, and we're adding more and more and more. Do I think no forever for this? No. But for me right now, it's no right now. It's just not the right time, considering we're coming out of COVID and we're already short-staffed. I can't tack on more and more on our staff members. I just can't do it.
So one of the big changes for me that happened with this is it no longer includes sick time. So this covers what would be the medical necessity that we've covered already. And if there's continued medical necessity, that's the only way they would get more time. So where it was written before, it started off, it was paid parental leave, and then you were also, without any additional medical necessity, had the time to take off. To me, that was the change which made me want to support this, was the fact it's no longer pretty much a straight 12 weeks. It's now 6 weeks, and then you go through the same medical process you would for any other medical need. And what I wanted to have happen was I did not want all of somebody's sick time used up right before they might need it for their child. So to me, I don't see this really taking the teachers out of the classroom anymore, unless they have a medical need, in which case I want them to have the sick time to use that. So to me, that's really, to me, was a substantial change from the original proposal to this one. Is if somebody has that medical need and they need to be out of the classroom for 10, 12 weeks because of that, I want them to be able to do that. Having them back in the classroom or then have no sick time left really doesn't benefit the students either. If somebody's only there because they're out of sick leave or whatever, to me that's not really a great situation for the students either. So to me that was a turning point when any mention of them not needing anything else to use 6 more weeks of sick time, that's what turned the corner for me.
I was a little concerned with the things that Lori had brought up before, the list of them, and it did kind of concern me, and there were some things I thought, ooh, I hadn't thought of that, but I think what really solidifies it for me is if the staff really thought that those concerns were something that were going to be an issue, they would have not voted yes on it as much as they did. And they voted for this in their unions already, so that tells me that they agree with this, they see it as a benefit, as a value to the staff, so.
I also see an advantage in this. This is for 2 years, and if it's going to continue, it will be part of the full negotiated contract. So if we see the costs are significantly higher than Dave's admittedly very rough estimate, just because we couldn't find an actuary to take on this work, but it's at most 2-year exposure. If it then is very detrimental to the teachers and their time as well as the cost, then it is a limited exposure. That was another advantage I saw of this.
For the record, for me voting no to this does not mean I don't care about our staff members and I don't value quality time with your family, because I do as a mother of 3. I just feel like there are other things that we can do with this money that may benefit more staff members. So don't think by me voting no that I don't value staff, because I do value our staff.
And it's hard for me because even as I'm hearing you talk, it's tough. So, yeah.
Okay. So we're ready to vote then? Okay, Mr. Oliverio.
Ms. McMullen?
No.
Mr. Ray?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. Gast?
Yes.
Ms. Lee?
Yes.
Motion passes. Number 12, approval of memorandum of understanding paid parental leave. This one is for the Fantown Association of Support Personnel. May I have a motion?
I'll move.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? Okay, Mr. Oliveira, may I have a vote, please?
Mr. Ray?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. Gast?
Yes.
Ms. Lee?
Yes.
Ms. McMullen?
No.
The motion passes. Item 13, approval of contract 2-year limited exempt. This is for July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2024. For Gerald Warmack. Have a motion?
I'll move.
Second? Any discussion?
So this is a 2-year contract, like a new 2-year contract for Gerald?
It's a new salary for the second year of his contract.
Gotcha.
So that dates are covering.
It's supposed to be 2023.
Well,
Okay.
right, so it's start, right.
So it should be July 1, 2023 through June 30th.
Well, right, yeah, how should it be worded there? Because the contract, that's the contract, the new salary starts July 1st, right?
Well, it's not really a new contract.
Right,
It's a
right,
second.
exactly.
But
right.
the way
Second
that's
year of his
written,
contract,
that's-
so.
Yeah, maybe.
We're going back to his,
No, we're not
It's
gonna,
supposed to just be
for this next year, right?
a change to his salary for the second year of the contract, correct?
Correct.
that's not how that works.
Yeah, that's. Do we need to change that
I
wording?
think we should.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're,
So I think we should just have, maybe it is recommended the board approve the following pay
updated salaries
increase.
for the second year of the contract,
Yes.
something like that.
So I'll modify that based on what I'm hearing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Reed?
So I have to ask, sorry, it's being rewritten as well, just a change for the last year?
For the
Correct.
next year.
So it should say 2023 to 2024, not
Yes.
2022. That's the only change.
Oh, the
Right.
word, is the wording, we're gonna change the wording as well?
I am, yes.
What's the wording change? Sorry, could you read it?
Is recommended the board approve the following pay increase for the second year of Gerald Warmack's contract.
Okay, thank you. Sorry,
That's fine.
that helps me just clarify what
Oh,
I'm voting
yeah.
on. So you have to call it again, I guess.
Okay, can you have roll call vote, please?
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. Gast?
Yes.
Ms. Lee?
Yes.
Ms. McMullen?
Yes.
Mr. Ray?
Yes.
Motion passes. Number 14, review of action steps.
I have sent out the survey again, and then we are, as was mentioned, finishing up the Q&A for the township from the last meeting in terms of what is progressing in terms of, honestly, we're working on all of long-range facility planning, kind of an update on that. So those are the two things I took away.
Will you get this somewhat random amount of money if we wanted to host a spot here for Healthcare Connection?
I'll put that in the back of the, I'll put that on.
It's
the
like,
list.
I know it's number 300 on the list, but I just like the number.
Yeah.
I'm not just doing it to keep my neighbor happy. This is all generated within myself. Okay. Anything else?
Tony, you and I still need to meet for.
Yeah. We still need
we-
Dr. Banks.
Yes.
Give us your self-report.
It's in progress.
Can we eventually look into the school lunch, into maybe switching who we currently have for the lunches? Is it a possibility?
I was there the other day. The lunch it's terrible. The kids hate the lunch. The kids aren't eating. I know it was a concern before when me and Lindsay attended the
Yeah.
event. The kids hate the lunch.
My kids
So
don't
my kids
either.
aren't eating. They've dropped in weight. I mean, I know part of it's my fault. We gotta get packed for them, but they're too cool to pack lunch. So I know the lunch is it's bad.
I would recommend us have a conversation with our current vendor around concerns we have, because they're pretty good partners with us, about that versus shopping around. I think that would be where I would recommend we start, so we can look at that.
I'd be happy to work with you on that to supply better food for our students.
Yeah, they might have other plans they offer, which could increase the cost of lunch too.
Okay, we're doing other things. Their nutrition is important.
Okay. Got number 15, announcements. The next regular meeting of the Finneytown Board of Education will take place on Monday, July 17th, 2023, 6:30 p.m. in the Media Center at the Finneytown Secondary Campus, 8916 Fontainebleau Terrace, Cincinnati, Ohio 45231. Open forum will begin at 6 p.m. I have a motion for adjournment.
On the move.
Second. Sorry.
Lindsay got it. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.